Andy's here, but he's in the attendance.
Sorry, Jenny, can come again, please?
Oh, okay, never mind. Andy's now coming in as a panelist.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Andy. Good evening. This is Sai. How are you? I think maybe you are on mute.
Oh, well, I wasn't, but now I am. Okay, good.
Super. So we will start in 3 minutes, Andy. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, I think we are good to go. People are joining. Good morning, good evening, everyone, depending on wherever you're joining. Thank you for taking time to attend. On behalf of All India Oracle Users Group, a very warm welcome to day 2 of Sangam 20 on-air virtual conference, or you can call as a Festival of Oracle. Before I introduce to our keynote speakers, I would like to cover a brief overview of Sangam 20 and a few housekeeping tasks. As you can see, Sangam 20 is a 12th anniversary and 12 days of festival. We are bringing the best of Oracle technology to you. It is a 3-week festival. We picked 2 days from your week and 2 days from the weekend. And we have 100+ speakers joining across the globe. We worked very hard to get a new content, new speakers to the Indian Oracle community. We have introduced new themes like rapid fire sessions. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's session, community sessions, and many more. Do not miss the magic of Sangam 20. Today we have number of expert speakers are joining from across the globe. Do not miss any of these sessions. I'm sure if you miss, you'll regret later. So please join all the sessions. And this is one of the important slides of Sangam 20. Take a screenshot of this slide and post it in Twitter. So your connections also can join Sangam 20 sessions. Not only that, you'll make a new connections during Sangam 20. You can search for Sangam 20 hashtag so that you can connect new people. Remember, knowledge is power. As long as it is shared, do not say with you, share with others. So before handing over to key speakers, I want to cover a few housekeeping things. We also invite your comments and questions. Please look at Q&A bottom of your screen. Please ask questions for speakers at any point of time, typing in Q&A only. Speakers will answer appropriately. Please prepare your questions properly before asking. Do not use like a chat window. Let us respect speakers' time. Please use chat box for any support. If we are here to support you. I already covered tweet about this webinar. This is only way you can connect new connections. Use Sangam 20 hashtag and AIOG hashtags, and all the presentation material we will upload to the AIOG website. And we have like a keynote quiz. So we want to test your knowledge after Andy's and Jenny's presentation. So wait for end of the session. We will share the QR code and you can participate and win a lot of gift vouchers, right? Provide your feedback at the end of the session. And also we made a new announcement, attend all the keynote sessions and get access to Sangam 20 session recordings for 10 days, and you can access all the sessions. So it's keynote sessions are very important. So with that, very warm welcome to Andrew Mendelsohn and Jenny T. Smith. It is honor to have you present. If you don't know Andy, I'm sure that just to give a brief introduction, Andrew is Executive Vice President of Database Service Technologies at Oracle. He's responsible for products and services centered around Oracle database, including development, test, and product management of much of more of core Oracle database products. And finally, Andy runs a customer support for Oracle Database Cloud Services and Oracle Database on Exadata. And by the way, Andy began his career at Oracle as a developer on Oracle Database 5.1. I'm sure you know the year 1984. Now, I'm sure most of you met Jenny at Sangam 19. Lot of selfies, a lot of memories. But if you don't know Jenny, Jenny is a vice president of database product management. She joined Oracle in 1993. She had held up a lot of leadership roles spanning across technical support, content development, education delivery, everything, right? You can ask anything about Oracle database. So her team runs a customer advisory board, drives technology adoption by Oracle application teams, partners, perform. So I don't want to really, it's anything, if you want anything on Oracle database, ask her, right? So with that, a very warm welcome, Andy and Jenny. Please go ahead and share your screen and present. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for the very gracious introduction, Sai. I miss seeing you all in person. So Andy's going to go first.
Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear, everybody? Jenny?
Yes, you sound
Yes,
great.
good. Okay. Yeah, I see him. It's a little dark here. You know, it's 8:30 in California in the evening, so don't have great studio lighting for these presentations. But anyway, so what we're going to do, Jenny and I are going to be a tag team. I'm going to give a high-level presentation about our overall database strategy, And then Jenny is going to give you guys, I think, the first ever presentation we've done at a big user event about what we're doing in Database 21C. So
Yes.
you guys are leading the pack here to get the latest and greatest news. So it's great to be here at Sangam. I've always been interested in coming, but I've never able to get here. I've been to India a lot of times, but never got to the conference. But I'm glad that in this pandemic, it's actually now possible for a lot of us to participate and talk directly to all of you in India and probably around Asia in general about what we're doing with the database. So let's get going. Okay. My screen is frozen. Oh, God. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to talk about three main topics, which are basically the three big areas of focus for the database development organization right now. Of course, we're working on core database software innovation. Unlike most other vendors, we have a single code base for the Oracle database software that we use on premises, we use when it's running on Exadatas, and we use it in our public cloud as well. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that. Exadata, of course, you all are very familiar with that, I'm sure by now. Our optimized platform for any workload, high performance, high availability on the Oracle database with the Oracle database. And then finally, our database cloud services, and I'll talk mostly about Autonomous Database. We have other cloud services as well. And there, the big radical thing we're doing is that, when you get to Oracle database on the cloud and use Autonomous Database, it's not like anything you've ever seen with Oracle on-prem. Is the easiest used database, period. On-prem, people talk about, oh, Oracle's complicated and it's hard to install or whatever. On the cloud, it's completely reverse. Oracle is the easiest database to use. Any random person can go up to our console, push a few button, tell us what kind of database they want, and in a few minutes they get it provisioned. And it's just amazing what now developers and analysts can do without any help from anyone else to get their work done. And of course, the big unique thing about our cloud approach is that we are not just putting Autonomous Database on the public cloud, but we are also making it available to run as a service in your data center via something we call Cloud@Customer. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about Converged Database. This is our big initiative to talk about, to describe how we are working to make our database software the most productive software for any developer to use to build an application, or any analyst to use that, analyze their data. And we like explaining it with this simple metaphor to start with. Think of a smartphone. What did you have before smartphones? You had a collection of devices, like, you had dumb phones, you had messaging devices, you had cameras, etc. The smartphone won because it combined the power of all those devices into one simple to use device. It just made everybody much more productive than they were before. And the idea behind Converged Database is exactly the same. We are taking what people in other vendors claim have to be separate databases, a database for analytics, a database for JSON documents, a database for blockchains, whatever. Combining that all into one database so that if you're a developer, you now can build pretty much any application you want using one software code base. You don't need to have 5 separate databases to integrate together via complicated data, movements and transformations, etc., complicated transactions to get your job done. So that's what a converged database is all about. And this is a little more detail on what we mean here. There are 3 major components here. Number 1, we want to be able to support all the different kinds of data you want to operate on in your database. And we uniquely want to support SQL access to all your data. So that's really important. As new kinds of data arise like JSON and graph, we are working with the standards committee to extend the SQL standard. So declarative SQL queries can now query all the new kinds of data as well as the old kinds of data. And this makes your developers really productive. Your analysts are much more productive than if they have to use 5 different kinds of interfaces to get at their data. We want to be able to run any kind of workload. And the bottom line here is that Converged Database is all about making developers and analysts really productive, much more productive they are with other approaches. And in particular, on this slide, on the left side, we sort of talk about the other approach. Amazon is the worst offender in this space, but other vendors are also promoting this idea that you need a specialized database for each different kinds of data type and workload to get your job done. Amazon has Aurora, their SQL database for OLTP, but then if you want to do analytics, you have to use Redshift. And if you want to do JSON documents, then you should use DocumentDB. And if you want to use blockchain, you should use Quantum Ledger. They have DynamoDB, it goes on and on. And except for their SQL databases, all the APIs for these databases are proprietary. So they're lock-in. So if you build applications on Amazon, the Amazon way, they are locking you completely into that platform. What we are doing is saying, no, you don't need 5, 10 different kinds of databases to get your job done. Just use one converged database, which is the Oracle database, of course. It's open, it's secure, it's SQL, and you can build your applications much more efficiently, much more productively using a converged Oracle database. Okay, so where are we in this whole converged database story? Well, 19C, shipped in 2019, early 2019, is our flagship release now. I know all of you are either on 19C already or you're working on plans to get there really fast. 19C is a long-term support release. It's supported all the way out to 2027. So a lot of customers are planning to move there and stay there for a long time to come. The major goal of this release was to take the features that we had been innovating in previous releases, like multi-tenant, in-memory column store technologies, our sharding technologies, and make them all really robust, high quality, ready to go for your production workloads as you move to 19C. However, we also added a couple features to the release as well, and I mentioned a few of them on this slide. The two on the left I think are the most interesting for those of you on premises. Lots of you used Active Data Guard already today, and as you know, Active Data Guard lets you create a read-only replica of your production database for either a standby purposes or HA, or for running reporting read-only workloads. Well, the great thing that happened in 19C is that Active Data Guard now can support read-write workloads, which is, just makes it even more and more useful for you in the enterprise. And that's new in 19C. The other big thing we did is a lot of you are now looking at, edge computing, Internet of Things kind of workloads, where a lot of the data is a little different than you're used to in the enterprise. In the enterprise, you can't usually lose data. You insert data and you say commit, you want that data to be there. It has to be durable. But in the Internet of Things world, there's a lot of data coming from sensors and other devices where, if you drop some of that data on the floor, nobody cares. And that's what the idea behind streaming inserts is. So what we did here is we sacrificed sort of durability for high performance throughput. So if you want to double, triple your throughput for loading data into an Oracle database, you can declare your table as being one of these, we call it memory optimized for insert kind of tables. And what that means is when the data gets loaded, we actually are buffering it in memory. We're not necessarily, we're entering redo logs and stuff like that, but we're not necessarily making it atomic. So when you say commit, the data might not, that last bit of data that you commit may not quite make a disk, but it doesn't matter because sensor data is fine to throw on the floor. Two other features we mentioned on the slide were done for Autonomous Database up in the cloud. Cloud SQL is our ability to get at data in object stores using standard Oracle SQL by basically making files in the object store look like external tables. So that's a really nice feature that a lot of customers in the cloud want, and customers on-prem can use it as well to query data in object stores up in the clouds. And then automatic indexing is part of our self-tuning capability in Autonomous Database. That feature is something we're making available for you on premises as well if you are running on Exadata. But it's primarily part of our Autonomous Database self-tuning strategy. So that's where we are with 19C. And we think it's a pretty good release, but don't take our word for it. We've got lots of proof points from the analysts. So Gartner just published their latest study of cloud databases last week. And we didn't have time to get the latest version of that study up on the slide, but the results were pretty similar to last year. You know, they looked at use cases for operational databases, 4 different ones: traditional transactions, distributed variable data, augmented transactions, what do they call it? Operational and, you know, event processing, whatever. But anyway, the bottom line is, in all 4 use cases for operational databases, we're number one. And in the new study, our lead to the number 2 vendors is actually increased by quite a bit. And you probably can see on the internet if you want some of the results from this survey. The other thing that they published is something called use cases for analytical databases. And in that study, we're number 1 or number 2 in every one of those use cases as well. So we're very excited about that. And Gartner basically has placed us ahead of all of the key competitors we have in the marketplace for both operational and analytical databases in the cloud. So that's something we're very gratified to see from Gartner. And of course, the other big proof point about, you know, our product works is, you know, 97% of the global Fortune 100 companies in the world are running Oracle. And so, you know, all the biggest telcos and banks and whatnot, of course, are using Oracle databases reliably, just like you guys are in India. And a lot of you are actually running a lot of those global banks workloads from India as well. Okay, so that's the story with Oracle database software that I'm going to focus on. Jen, like I said, Jenny will talk about 21C. And let's go on to Exadata. I think most of you already know the story about Exadata. You know, it's an optimized hardware platform. And the big thing we did is this thing called Smart Scan. So we smart software that runs in the storage and lets us offload SQL processing into the storage. Originally was done to make to turn the Exadata storage server into a massively parallel SQL offload engine. Over the years, we also have made Exadata into a great platform for transaction processing, mixed workloads, everything in between. And I know a lot of you in India are using it pretty heavily. And then, of course, there's a layer of automation on top of Exadata, especially as we get up to the cloud, that turns it into a really autonomous system. Okay. Lots and lots of customers use Exadata. Like I said, the biggest data warehouse in the world are all on Exadata. In fact, I don't think there's a single Oracle database for data warehousing, you know, above a few terabytes that's not on Exadata these days. All the big OLTP systems now are on Exadata as well, across financial services, telco, e-commerce, packaged apps, you name it. Customers lately have been doing a lot of private clouds on Exadata. They're putting up private clouds of Oracle databases on premises, just like we do in the public cloud. Some are using Database Cloud at Customer. We'll talk about that later. Some are just doing consolidation efforts as well. And we just on the slide list a few big customers. In India, I think the biggest customer using Exadata is HDFC Bank, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with them. The big news in Exadata about a year ago was we introduced the X8M. And this is a radical change to the Exadata architecture we introduced 12 years ago. We've replaced the InfiniBand networking interconnect that we used to connect together the servers and storage with standard Ethernet. Ethernet with remote, RDMA over converged Ethernet, RoCE, is now, actually faster and more powerful than InfiniBand. And so we've moved to that technology, and that's an industry standard technology that we can actually easily deploy in the cloud. So there are a lot of advantages to going to RDMA over converged Ethernet. The other thing we did is we improved our storage hierarchy in Exadata. Before we had DRAM, and DRAM would cache data that we bring in from the flash, and then the flash tier would cache data that's in the hard disk layer if you have an Exadata with hard disks on it. Into that memory hierarchy, we've now inserted persistent memory as a technology in between the DRAM and the flash. So persistent memory is this new Optane technology from Intel. And it has read-write performance that's very close to DRAM performance. Plus, it has a lot of the characteristics of flash. You can use it as storage as well. When your server goes down, it doesn't go away. Now, in the Exadata X8M, we're not quite using it as storage. We're still using it as a caching layer. And however, for the most part, when you're running systems on the Exadata, the data will be in the cache, and you'll be able to get the benefits of this incredible performance with the PMEM. And you can get on the order of 19 microsecond IO latency using this persistent memory on the Exadata versus 50 times that on the best flash storage out there. So this is a really powerful machine, especially for low latency transaction processing workloads, plus all the workloads we've run in the past. As always with the Exadata, as we added more performance, more processing power in both the compute servers and in the storage servers, we add more memory, and overall, you get lots more bang, and the price of the Exadata never go up. So you always get more and more power each time we come out with a new generation. The Exadata X8M first came out on-prem about a year ago. It's now available also in our public cloud, and we're using it as our optimized database infrastructure for things like autonomous database, Exadata cloud service, in the public cloud and at cloud at customer. Okay, and I mentioned that here. Exadata is available everywhere, both standard, buy it for your on-premises, or use it in cloud at customer, more like a cloud service or a private cloud. With the cloud models, of course, you get the standard cloud business model where you pay as you go for the use of database software and other software on the Exadata box. Here, I just wanted to show you one pretty increasingly common use case for Exadata. Customers who are on-prem and are starting to think about clouds are looking at, what's the first step I want to take as I transition to cloud computing technology. And the first thing that a lot of them are doing is using cloud for disaster recovery. They're still running their existing systems on premises, and then they're using Exadata Cloud Service or Autonomous Database as the standby for their on-prem database using Active Data Guard. And we just give 3 examples of that here. One is EBusiness Suite example. The second one is a customer doing more of a data warehouse kind of workload using the Epic Clarity data warehouse. And the third one is running FlexCube, which is a financial services product from Oracle. But the bottom line is a lot of customers are using this as one of their first steps in the cloud. And it's something I'd encourage all of you to look at if you're looking at what's a good next step to take. Okay, so that's a real brief Exadata story. Let's close with what we're doing on the cloud. And I'm going to focus in on autonomous database. Of course, we have our non-autonomous services there as well, like Exadata Cloud Service. Lots of customers like using that because it runs our older releases. Autonomous database is a 19C database, and so it's something that as you all move up to 19C, it'll be basically an ideal platform for all of you to move to. Like I said earlier, autonomous database is a radically different experience, user experience with the Oracle Database product. It's one of these best of both worlds kind of experience. You get all the power of the Oracle Database and love. It's enterprise class. It's got great performance, scalability, security. But now at the push of a button, any developer, any database analyst, can create a powerful Exadata infrastructure running autonomous database, and get it in a couple minutes. It's pretty amazing. It's all self-driving, self-tuning. It has what we call true cloud elasticity. If you look at what vendors like Amazon do with databases on the cloud, they're still provisioning shapes. You want a server with so many CPUs, so many servers, and if that shape isn't big enough, then you have to provision a new shape and move all your data from the old shape to the new shape. And while you're doing that, you have downtime. We don't do that with autonomous database. You provision by the CPU. If you need 17 CPUs, that's what you provision, and that's what you pay for. If you now need 18, you just add one more. Or you let us do auto scale, and we will automatically scale you up based on demand from your workload up to 3x the baseline CPU you specify, and you'll only pay for that extra CPU during the short period of time you might need it to solve some spike in your workload, and then we'll automatically scale back down again when we don't need those extra CPUs. Amazon can't do that. Microsoft can't do that. Google, they can't do that. So this is a really differentiated kind of product. And then finally, our secret weapon on the cloud, and a lot of you, I think, know about it, is Oracle Apex. Apex is the fastest way to build data-driven, rich data applications that you can deploy on our cloud or on-prem and deliver via web browsers to your clients. We're going to be making a lot of noise about Apex, and we have a big announcement coming actually in a couple weeks where you'll see some really exciting stuff for our Apex customers on the cloud. Okay, so what is Autonomous Database? It's pretty simple. You start with our cloud infrastructure, our Gen 2 cloud infrastructure, where you get the networking and object store, things of that sort. And then on top of that, we put our Exadatas. Now the Exadata X8M is the latest infrastructure. And then on top of that, of course, we just put Oracle Database 19c now. And around that, of course, there's automation software, there's machine learning algorithms, et cetera, to deliver the autonomous experience. But that's the basic concept of Autonomous Database. Now, there are 3 separate versions of Autonomous Database, which are basically the same, the same exact infrastructure I just showed you, but they're tuned and optimized for 3 different workloads. There's Autonomous Data Warehouse, which is designed, of course, for doing big data warehouses, but also any kind of analytic use cases, a data mart, data science, building machine learning models. You can do all of those things on Autonomous Data Warehouse. Autonomous Transaction Processing is tuned for more transactional and mixed workloads. These are very common workloads you run on-prem, things like EBusiness Suite, SAP, any kind of custom transactional mixed workloads, great for ATP, Autonomous Transaction Processing. And then finally, our newest service is Autonomous JSON Database. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a later slide. That's for JSON document workloads. And we have lots and lots of customers now benefiting from Autonomous Database. They're using it for everything from data marts to DR, as I mentioned earlier. And as a quiz for you guys, why don't you look at this slide and see if you can find the customers in India on this slide. It's a real Where's Waldo kind of problem. But I'll give you a hint. On the second row, there's Federal Bank. That's an India customer. And there's a university a little farther down that's in India. And there's one more I haven't mentioned. So see if you can find it. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about JSON. So JSON has been a very popular data structure for JavaScript developers over the last number of years. And we've had, in our Converged Database strategy, we've been supporting JSON documents in the Oracle database as just columns in the Oracle table. We've extended SQL, so you can easily query the data in the JSON columns in your database. You can, filter out the data in a where clause. You can join it to arbitrary numbers of tables. Just, you get all the power of Oracle SQL. Well, on the cloud, there's some developers who just love JSON and they don't want anything else. And so what we decided to do is give them a version of Autonomous Database that just has the subset of autonomous transaction processing that they really want to use. However, there is the escape valve if they decide at some point that the requirements have changed and they need the full power of an Oracle database. They can just push a button, and without moving any data, they can just upgrade to autonomous transaction processing and get the full power there. We have on this product, what a JSON developer expects. MongoDB is the prototypical JSON database. We have all the classic features and more that MongoDB has. The big advantage is we have SQL query. There's much, much more powerful query language than what MongoDB supports. And in our autonomous JSON database, we have really good performance now in the latest version. And it's some technology that we'll talk about in the context of 21C in Jenny's presentation. But we now did a benchmark. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the bottom of the slide, is we looked at some benchmark results that were published by MongoDB that compared the MongoDB Atlas cloud service performance to Amazon Document DB. And what we did is we said, hey, we can run the same workload. And what we found is our product is actually twice as fast as both of these products, which I think is somewhat surprising because the claim from these specialized database vendors is, well, you need my product because, those general purpose products are really slow and clunky and all that. Well, it turns out Oracle's actually faster than they are. So you get all the benefits of an Oracle database, Oracle Autonomous Database, availability, security, auto scale, full transactions, etc. And no downside here. It's actually a lower price than MongoDB. So definitely those of you who are interested in just building JSON applications should take a look at this product. Another thing new we did that we released in September is Autonomous Database Cloud at Customer. And this is basically the autonomous database that we've been talking about delivered in your data center using a cloud business model. So, you do have to, give us a 4-year commitment to pay for the, the Exadata infrastructure we're going to roll into your data center. But after that, it's pay per use, just like in the cloud for the software on that Exadata infrastructure. It's fully compatible, of course, with all your Oracle database software, on-prem or in the cloud, but it's behind your firewall. So for those of you who have reasons where why you need to run your databases in your data centers, there may be legal reasons in your country that data for your citizens has to be in that data center. There may be other regulatory reasons, or you just may not be ready for going to public clouds yet. This is the product for you. Exadata Cloud at Customer is the predecessor product. It's been very, very successful with customers. We expect Autonomous Database Cloud at Customer will be even more successful. Okay. The other nice thing about it is the user experience here. When you are provisioning databases on the public cloud or on Autonomous Database Cloud at Customer, it's the exact same web UI, no difference. It just in one case you say provision this autonomous database, in some cloud data center. Or you can say, no, provision it in one of my data centers. All the exact same user experience. Okay. Samsung is an example of one of our existing big Exadata customers. They have, as they say here, over 300 Exadatas, and they're very excited about Autonomous Database. They now have adopted their first Exadata Cloud at Customer at Samsung, and they're going to be looking at adding Autonomous Database on top of that in the future. Okay, so I'll do a little teaser here. So Jenny is going to talk to you about Database 21C. And on this slide, I'll just briefly mention a couple things to look for in Jenny's presentation. So we've sort of grouped the features in 21C by these 4 categories, any data, any workload, most productive. The big thing in 21C on the any data side is what I sort of mentioned a little bit before with the JSON performance that we already have in the autonomous JSON database service. That performance is due to a new data type, a new native binary representation for JSON documents that we've added to 21C. And we've also sort of backported into the autonomous JSON service. And it gives us really good query performance, really good update performance. That's better than what you can get from people, MongoDB. Blockchain is another technology that's really interesting that we've added to that to 21C. The strategy of Amazon's requiring you to have a separate database just to get blockchains, we think is really dumb. Blockchain should just be a standard SQL table. You can query it, you can insert it to using standard SQL operations. However, you can just tell us, I want it to be an immutable blockchain table, and voila, we'll use blockchain cryptographic techniques to make it immutable. There's some other cool stuff around persistent memory that we've added to 21C. To make it possible for Oracle, the Oracle database to natively use the Intel Optane persistent memory. We've improved performance with JSON and Graph, and we've done a few other things like in addition to Java and PL SQL stored procedures, we are now adding JavaScript as a language you can use for building logic to run in the database first under Apex, and then with 22C we'll add full stored procedure support there as well. AutoML is a really cool thing. I'll let Jenny talk about that. And with that, I'll just close and hand things over to Jenny. So we talked about 19C. We talked about how Gartner in their latest cloud Magic Quadrant and critical capabilities report is has verified that Oracle Cloud Database, Autonomous Database, is the best database technology up in the cloud. 5 of the 8 use cases, number 1, 3 of them were number 2. and those were just for the analytic use cases. And then 21C, I gave you a little hint about what's coming on there. We think Oracle Database by far is the most productive database to use, built for building application, for doing analytics, and we use, we talk about our Converged Database is the reason for that. It's something we really think, you need to get the word out there to the developers who don't really understand the value of a converged database. We talked about the Exadata X8M. It's available on-prem, available in the cloud now as well. A whole new architecture for Oracle Exadata using RDMA over converged Ethernet and persistent memory, and delivers 19 microsecond latency for IOs. Pretty amazing technology. And finally, we talked about autonomous database. And what's new there, we talked a little bit about autonomous JSON database, the new autonomous database cloud at customer technology. And of course, we'll have a stream of future innovations, moving forward. And with that, I will hand things over to Jenny.
Before you close, sorry, Andy, there is a question, and I thought you might want to address it.
Oh, okay.
So question is EBusiness Suite certified with autonomous database?
Okay, so that's a good question. So the big picture is we have been working with all of our applications groups, PeopleSoft and Siebel and J.D. Edwards and EBusiness Suite to have them certified with autonomous database. So the good news is all of them are certified except EBusiness Suite. EBusiness Suite, as you guys know, is a very complicated application that uses virtually every feature in the Oracle database. So we are very close to getting them certified, and we expect they'll be certified with autonomous database sometime, in the first half of next year. And in the meantime, you can use Exadata Cloud Service if you want to move your EBusiness Suite to the cloud, which is a great cloud service, alternative. And when autonomous database is certified, you can upgrade to
that. One more question, Andy?
Sure.
Okay. So going forward, will ATP, ADW, and AJD be combined into one offering? That's a
they are one
offering. I know.
Yes. So as I sort of mentioned in the presentation, it's all the same. Under the covers, it's all the same. It's an Exadata running Oracle Database 19C or 21C in the future as well. And one is tuned for data warehouse workloads. One is tuned more for transaction processing and mixed workloads, and JSON for JSON workloads. The other reason we did JSON is JSON, needs to compete with MongoDB. MongoDB is a relatively inexpensive database compared to a full-fledged, relational, converged database offering in the cloud. And so by having autonomous JSON database, we are able to offer a database at a very competitive price point versus MongoDB that we can't offer if we want to have the full capability of an Oracle database. That we offer with autonomous data warehouse or autonomous transaction processing at a little higher price point. So that's the other reason we did autonomous JSON. And the good thing about autonomous JSON is when you hit the wall, and with MongoDB, customers are always hitting the wall. There's always, at some point they figure out, hey, I need spatial, I need graph, I need, parallel query, whatever it is. You hit the wall with Mongo, you have to either use lots of other databases to complete your application, or you have to move your database to some other technology. In this case, we suggest moving into autonomous transaction processing. So we also do support that. So if with autonomous JSON database, you are future-proof. If requirements come in later that require you to use more than JSON technology, more powerful SQL constructs, you just push a button, and voila, you're already an autonomous database. So we just we don't have to do anything. You just say, okay, this guy now should have the full power of autonomous database, and yeah, we raise the price. You now pay per use at a higher burn rate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Andy. And one final question was around whether autonomous database will be available for on-premises. And I believe you had already talked about the cloud at customer.
Yes.
Deployment.
So autonomous database cloud at customer is available today to run in your data centers, and by all means, go check it out.
Thanks, Andy. All right, if you would stop sharing, I will share my.
Okay, I will do that.
Here. All right, so thank you, Sai, for inviting me to come back again. I guess I did okay last year, so it's great to hear your voice. And hopefully next year I'll get to see you in person. And hello, everybody who've joined this session here. So as Andy said, our main goal in the data management organization is to build the world's best converged database. We feel like that is the best approach for our customers, where we can support many data types and data models within a single database engine, and also allow multiple workload types that haven't even been invented yet. We will actually be working to ingest the workload types, the data models of the future into our database engine. And the benefit is that our customers will be able to experience more productivity, and in some cases at a lower cost. One other sort of differentiator that I think Andy has been alluding to is the fact that this is the same database engine you could develop and deploy anywhere. So I think of it as extreme portability. So on premises, in public cloud, you can even run it in non-Oracle public cloud, and then cloud at customer, as well as our dedicated region cloud at customer. And you can choose whether you want it to be co-managed, like the database cloud service, Exadata cloud service, or fully managed using our autonomous database. So to me, it's just great that our customers can have that choice and that they can develop and deploy anywhere they choose. The other thing is that our cloud footprint is growing. So in December, we've recently, or we will be adding, I should say this is probably early news for you guys. We're adding a new region in Chile, in South America, in Santiago. So we will have 29 regions and many more planned. And as you can see, we're also growing our footprint in terms of the Azure connection. So we have a partnership with Microsoft, and so we're adding more data regions where the Azure connection interconnect is supported. And we're also continuing to do certifications for the government data regions. So lots of growth in our cloud. And so because of that, we are going to be releasing the next version of Oracle Database, which is Database 21C, on Oracle Cloud first. And the great news is that you get to try it out for free, completely, forever, I guess, on Autonomous Database free tier. So, if you just want to kick the tires and try out the new features, you can very easily get an account on Oracle Cloud account and try it out. One caveat here is that that there are only 4 regions that we're going to be supporting this initially. So it'll be 2 in the US and then 2 in Europe. So that's the one caveat. And then the other thing is that we will make 21C available as well at the same time on Database Cloud Service, both VM and bare metal. On bare metal, it's single instance only. So the release date is really, really close. I'm not allowed to say the exact date, but it's coming sooner than you think. So be on the lookout for our blog post and some other press releases that we'll be releasing. So after the cloud release, we will be bringing 21C to on-premises platforms, so Linux, Windows, Exadata, and so forth. That's looking like sometime early next year. I would say probably around the spring timeframe, you'll start to see some of these releases coming out. So that's the next release. Now, I think some of you are probably thinking, okay, so we went from 19C and then 21C. So we kind of skipped a number there. And as most of us, we probably don't want to remember 2020, right? It's been one of those years that just has been less than desirable. And that, of course, that's not the main reason why we're not shipping 20C, because we did actually release 20C preview in February of 2020 this year. But, and we were ready to actually bring it to general availability earlier this year, but because of the pandemic, and we realized that our customers are really just slightly overwhelmed, if I might say, with keeping their business running, and really not in the right frame of mind to be uptaking yet another new database release. We decided to hold off and not ship 20C, but instead work some more on it and add some more capabilities and call it 21C. So 21C really is a combination of all the capabilities that we built for 20C plus a few other things in support mostly of our cloud database services. Okay, so that's 21C, and that's what happened to 20C. And you'll notice that I've labeled some of these releases as innovation and others as long-term. So the main difference between these two release types is that one has only 2 years of premier support, so that's innovation releases, 2 years of premier support, no extended support. The long-term releases will have 5 years of premier support and 3 years of extended support. The idea is that we realize for some of our customers who have mission-critical production systems where they don't really want to have to be upgrading every year, because we do now have an annual release model. They want to be able to stay on a particular release a little bit longer. So we have the notion of a long-term release where they can stay on the long-term release for up to the 5 years of premier support and then the extended support. And then in between, we will ship new capabilities in these innovation releases, so that we'll continue to allow our customers who want the latest and greatest to innovate and test new capabilities. But just know that you have to upgrade if you're on an innovation release within the 2-year support timeframe to the next innovation release. And the other thing I want to point out here is that we do want to make sure that our customers have a bit of overlap between long-term releases in terms of premier support. So as you can see from this chart here, that if you're on 19C and you want to wait until 23C to upgrade, that there is some overlap with the premier support. Okay, so that's it. And I want to remind you all that there is a My Oracle support note, which you should go check out, 742060.1. That is where we post the latest schedule. And hopefully you also have it set for RSS notifications so that you'll know whenever we change this note for the latest information. Okay, so 21C, as I said, is just our continuation of adding more capabilities to support Converged Database. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the features categorized into sort of the 3 buckets of multi-data model, data type support, multi-workload support, multi-tenancy, which is one of the key capabilities that we introduced back in 12C that has enabled us actually to build autonomous database and the various other cloud services, as well as enable the kind of productivity that our customers have asked for. And also, of course, some of our customers have used multi-tenancy to help them with consolidation. One of the other uses of multi-tenancy is the developers can actually use this to create essentially persistent stores for microservices. So you can have a microservice mapped to a pluggable database within a container database. And so some of those reasons are why we actually from 20C onward, but 20C is not shipping, so 21C onward, we will only be essentially offering the multi-tenancy or container database architecture. So of course, if you're on 19C, you should really start to use the container database architecture now, and then going forward, you'll have no problem adopting our new container database architecture only engine. Okay, so let me just jump right into the first category, which is multi-models. So one of the new things that I'm really kind of excited about is the embedded Graal Multilingual Engine. So this is actually, Graal VM is something that we introduced, I believe, 3 years ago, and it allows essentially a sort of a polyglot environment where you can develop in multiple languages, but uses one Graal VM to run all the different programs in the different languages. And so we've brought this and embedded it into the 21C database engine. And we call it the Multilingual Engine. Our first programming language that we're supporting is JavaScript. We decided we chose JavaScript because it's so ubiquitous, and we want to actually get more developers to use Oracle database, and we felt that this was one way to at least encourage them to do this. Now, one of the big advantages of having JavaScript execute inside the database is that you're running the code sort of in situ where the data resides. You're eliminating the network round trips. Okay, and there's a lot of built-in kind of conveniences. For example, data types are automatically mapped between JavaScript and the Oracle database data types. You can execute SQL from the JavaScript code that's embedded very easily, and you still have access to all the open source JavaScript libraries, which I think is one of the reasons why developers like to develop in JavaScript. So this is one really exciting feature, and we're going to add more languages. So we will be supporting Java and Python and other languages with this multilingual engine. Andy talked a bit about JSON, and the fact is that we have supported JSON for multiple releases now. Prior to 21C, they're stored as LOBs, and now in 21C, they're stored as binary data type. And so that just means that they work a lot faster. We're able to index any of the elements in a JSON document. We can even index array elements. So every value within the array can be indexed as well. So it's just, very, very fast scans and faster updates and so forth. And then because you have JSON in this Converged Database engine, you can use the built-in capabilities of the optimizer, parallel processing, and so forth. And you can join the JSON documents with other data types very, very easily. So it also, to me, it's a productivity gain for developers. So they don't have to worry about additional code to be able to work with many data types that may not be within their specialized document data store. So this is the chart that Andy didn't show in his deck, but I wanted to show this because it's just really compelling to see that even with a Converged database, I think some of their customers have said, well, you're kind of like a jack of all trades and maybe master of none. And the reality is that's not the case. And at least that's something that we are definitely cognizant of and want to avoid. So what we do is whenever we introduce these features, we also are mindful of the fact that we want to make sure it's performant, scalable, all the other things that people will come to associate with Oracle database. So as you can see, these benchmarks show that JSON in Oracle database is even more performant than the specialized document databases out there. Graph, spatial, those are options that people who actually use them love, but many people don't know about these options. They've been around for many, many years. Last December 2019, we made spatial and graph option free for all database editions. So if you're not already taking advantage of this capability, I strongly encourage you to go check it out. So you can build social graphs within Oracle database, and we just continue to enhance these data types and data models. So in 21C, you can basically analyze much larger graphs without having to consume more memory, and you don't need to modify your application to do that. And we have a property graph visualization studio. This is actually a theme that you'll start to notice as I talk more about some of the other features, is that we realize we have a lot of powerful capabilities, but they're kind of difficult to use. They're not always user-friendly. And so what we're trying to do is to pay more attention to making sure that people can actually use the great capabilities and not have to spend hours and hours combing through documentation to figure out how to do something. And so that is a theme that runs throughout the new features and enhancements that we're introducing. Blockchain. So blockchain, I realize, is probably starting, it had reached its peak and now it's sort of in the trough of disillusionment, I guess. But honestly, I think there's a lot of life still to all the use cases that blockchain technology could satisfy. And one of the use cases we find is that fraud protection is something that our customers, it's not just financial services customers, but healthcare, customers care about making sure they protect their data. And our blockchain table, a new feature in 21C, is going to allow that through basically adding some additional functionality to heap tables. So a blockchain table is essentially a heap table that we treat in a special way, right? So it will only allow you to insert records, and every record is chained to the prior record with a cryptographic hash. And we have packages that will allow you to detect if somebody's tried to tamper with the rows, inserted rows. You can set up retention periods for the rows. So I know that in some countries, there's, like, for example, in Europe, GDPR, where people may want to say, okay, I want you to delete my record after some time has elapsed. And so we actually have that capability with this blockchain table. So it is immutable, but you can set up policies to expire rows. And then you can even set up a policy where if a table has not been active, blockchain table hasn't been inserted into for some period of time, you can actually go and drop the table. So it's really easy to use, because as you see, this is just create blockchain table, and that's it. And then you can use it in queries, in SQL statements, join it with other tables, other relational tables, and you don't have to buy another service. This is just a feature in the database, and unlike with AWS, we have to buy Quantum Ledger database to do this. This is built in. The main thing, though, I want to point out is that this is not a distributed ledger technology, right? Which was what most people think of when they think of blockchain. This is a centralized, immutable blockchain technology, and we are going to be enhancing it so that the distributed ledger support is something we're going to be building in a future release. And this is just summarization of some of the fraud protection use cases, as I mentioned, that you can use blockchain table for. And we have customers who are actually quite excited about trying it out, and we have some customers prototyping it. One news is, I just want to confirm, I had confirmed with some development folks before talk today, is that we are backporting 21C to, we're backporting blockchain from 21C to 19C. So our customers on the 19C long-term release will also be able to make use of blockchain tables. So that's pretty exciting. Let me jump into the multi-workload area. So, one type of workload that our customers have said they wanted to run in the database, because the data is there that they want to use, so why not take the machine learning algorithms and put it inside the database? And so we've had data mining / advanced analytics / Oracle machine learning. They're really just different names for essentially the same set of capabilities. We've had that for probably more than 10 years, and we continue to add new algorithms and so forth. Now with 21C, we're introducing something called the AutoML engine plus UI. Now AutoML is something that I think other database management systems or services have implemented, but what I'm going to show you after this slide is something really, really cool. But essentially what it does is it allows the non-experts who want to take advantage of machine learning to use machine learning without really knowing much about it. So really all you need to know is what data set do I want to train, and then what value do I want to be able to predict, using an appropriate algorithm, and that's pretty much all you need to know. And pretty much, you just feed that information in. AutoML will go ahead and figure out what algorithm works best for the data set that you've chosen and what you want to predict, and then it figures out what data is going to be needed, what features makes more sense, and then what parameters to use to tune the algorithm. And this is a UI. So this UI will be coming out. It actually won't be out in the initial release of 21C, but in one of the updates, we will have this available probably early next year. But basically, as I said, you give it the data set, you tell it what data you want it to predict, okay, and then you press the button, start. And the AutoML engine will just churn through the data and then figure out in a ranked order what ML algorithm will best, serve the kind of data you want to predict, and it'll give you an accuracy score. And so you can, of course, you most likely are going to want to pick the top one to use, the top machine learning algorithm to use against your real data that you want to analyze. So, I don't know how much easier it can be. And one of the things I was thinking is that this is actually a great learning tool for somebody who's not a machine learning expert to be able to use this tool and then start to understand machine learning algorithms, how to apply them, and so forth. And of course, data scientists, they don't have to use this tool. They could bypass it and just go directly to the algorithms, the APIs, and use Oracle Machine Learning directly. Okay, switching gears. So, in terms of workload, one of the things that people think about is performance. And with Exadata X8M, we do support the Intel Optane persistent memory. So that is in Exadata. And that's actually, I want to point that out because it's a different feature. Okay, the Exadata X8M usage of PMEM is different. This is actually a feature for single instance database to start with. And so if you have a server where you've purchased the Intel Optane, PMEM chip, and you want to be able to then store your data in the persistent memory, you can do that now with 21C. And PMEM essentially is cheaper DRAM, right? But it's faster than flash cache. And so for some of our customers where they want to be able to do this on a single instance database, you're now able to do that. And we suggest that you use DataGuard because you can't run RAC on this yet. We are working on it. So you'll need DataGuard to ensure availability. Okay, so that's PMEM. The other thing is we've really done some work to further improve the database in-memory option. So this was introduced back in 12C, and essentially this is a feature that enables customers who want to be able to run hybrid mixed workloads, analytic workloads, plus OLTP workloads. We have an area in the SGA that you can set up as the in-memory column store, so you can store some of the columns as a column store, and then there's the row store that traditionally is read into the buffer cache. So this is, if some of you are probably familiar with this already, but I have this slide here just to kind of introduce those people who don't know about the database in memory feature. Now, my most favorite in-memory column store enhancement in 21C is this self-managing capability. So basically, this feature says you don't have to know what to put in memory column store. We'll just figure it out for you based on your usage patterns, and we'll move columns and objects into the column store and take them out of the column store and automatically compress them just based on their usage patterns. So there's baked in sort of machine learning, if you will, happening inside the database engine, and we'll just automatically taking care of this for you. And then it's kind of like I think of it as sort of like a tiered data access or data data access kind of approach. And so, you know, how great is that? And oh, and by the way, with the 21C, and actually we backported to 19C, you can try the database in memory feature for up to 16 gigs. So you can say, okay, I want to try it for free. You don't have to pay for database in memory. You can say, I just want to try it. And you can create a column store that is up to 16 gigs of your SGA, and say, okay, now just show me how this works. And so this is great. I encourage all of you guys to go try it out. Okay, sharding. So sharding is something, again, was introduced back in 12C, and it's a way for many of our customers to be able to do consolidation, because you can essentially have one container database, right? One instance running with many pluggable databases within this one container database. You know, we have customers with hundreds of PDBs inside a single CDB. And the idea is, you know, with this shared nothing architecture, you can kind of look at this as kind of our answer to NoSQL for relational tables. In fact, we actually have quite a few customers who have adopted this because, you know, it makes sense. And my very favorite new feature in 21C for sharding is this sharding advisor tool. So if you have a non-sharded schema and you're wondering, okay, well, how do I even start figuring out how to shard this? Just point this tool at that non-sharded schema, and it will give you a ranked list of possible sharded database designs that are optimized for query performance, scalability, availability, and so forth. So again, you know, how much easier can it get, right? It'll tell you how to shard your database. You do have to have I think it's either the Active Data Guard or RAC. So you need to have that. But this is something that, and those are just the options that you need to license in order to be able to use the sharding option. But this is something that I think, you know, if you have a NoSQL database requirement, I would strongly encourage you to check out this capability. Multi-tenancy. So we have, you know, new capabilities in multi-tenancy. Multi-tenant was also introduced back in 12C, and as I said, from basically 21C onward, you can only create container databases, and within a container database, you could have one or more pluggable databases. So if you don't really want to have more than one pluggable database, that's totally fine. You could just have the one pluggable database, but then of course you don't get the advantages of having a container architecture. Now, the nice thing is that if you don't want to have to pay for the multi-tenant option, okay, you can still create up to, or still have up to 3 PDBs per CDB. And there is actually no limit other than the practical limits of the number of CDBs that you can have on a system. So, you know, you can have many CDBs, each with 3 PDBs. And this is just an example of how some of our customers use the CDB PDB configuration. Is that, you know, they may have a production CDB and they could have a development CDB and use our cloning capabilities with PDBs to clone from production to development and do their development work on the development container database. Okay, so please check out the container database architecture. Now in 21C, we introduced the ability to basically create a per PDB physical standby with Data Guard. So prior to 21C, you know, you basically had to fail over an entire container database. And now, you know, even though you don't really want to, you still have to do that if you know, for HA. But But in 21C, you can set it up so that only certain PDBs within a container database needs to fail over, and just you could have a combination, but it's just so much more manageable, and we'll continue to add on to this capability so that the HA becomes more granular and easier. And this is something that actually some of our customers have said this is going to really help them with upgrades. That they can come up with a scheme to do the upgrade on the standby, and then failover, or I might have it backwards. But anyways, upgrades is probably a use case also for this particular configuration. And then another thing with multi-tenant is, the ability to further sort of isolate the PDBs from each other, and even CDBs from each other, on the same system. And so there's a new feature called DB Nest. I'm not sure who came up with this particular name, but I think of a nest with eggs, and you're protecting your eggs. And so that's kind of how it is. This is a feature that is tied to the operating system, and what it's doing is it's essentially doing isolation more at the hardware level, utilizing the operating system's capabilities. And currently it's only supported on Linux. Okay, all right, moving on to two more features that I think are really cool. SQL macros. So SQL macros, the word macros probably gets you thinking about like Excel macros, and that's pretty much what they are. They're basically an encapsulated set of statements that then is pre-processed. So when you issue a statement calling a SQL macro, what happens is this preprocessor will translate that statement and look at the macro, and then basically issue the SQL statement as if it were not encapsulated, if you will. So one of the things that I've seen a use case for this feature is that if you wanted to write code that can run on multiple database platforms, for example, you can use this feature to essentially encapsulate the SQL commands that might differ from one database platform to another database platform. And this will allow you to say, okay, like for instance, if you're writing an application that runs on Postgres, and now you don't, you want to run it on Oracle database, but you don't want to have to go and rewrite all of your statements, you could create a SQL macro for the Postgres command or SQL command, and then in the SQL macro code, it'll basically convert it to the Oracle SQL syntax format. So that's one possible use case, but there are many other ones. But I think it's pretty cool, and we also supported the SQL table macro so that you can use it in parameterized views as well. Okay, so, and then lastly, my most favorite feature, I know it's kind of funny, but this is something that I know customers have asked for, and it's just one of those things that seems like, it's a small thing, but it actually has large impact. So, oftentimes customers say we have to force our users to change their password every so often. And that's good. That's very good practice. So application security compliance is important. But then they get these users who don't know their new password, and they have to go and get help. And so instead of having that situation occur, what we did was we created a new parameter and added it to profiles called password roll over time. And that'll enable you to have 2 passwords associated with an account, and the old password will expire, after some time. And so This way, it gives the user a little bit of grace period, right, to learn their new password before they are locked out. So this is one of those things that, again, I think it seems like a small feature, but I think it's really pretty cool. And then I just want to remind you, as Andy said, Apex is kind of like one of those secret weapons that we have in the Oracle database. And of course, Apex will continue to be available with all releases of our database. And our latest version of Apex is 20.2. And there's some new capabilities in 20.2 that's specific to autonomous database integration, loading data into autonomous database and then setting the service levels from Apex connected to autonomous database. So wanted to just remind you that we still have Apex. All right, and that is pretty much a quick tour of some of the features in 21C. And as I said earlier, we want to be the best converged database to support any data, any workload, allow our customers to be the most productive, but still give them the enterprise level capabilities that they expect. And that is pretty much my talk. Thank you very much for attending. And I do see looks like there's one question here. ATP will certify for eBusiness Suite. Okay, Andy's answering. Yeah, so it will be. Okay, anything else?
Thank you so much. I think Andy answered most of the questions. There are really good questions. I'm sure people are still posting a lot of questions. So what we can do is, still you can submit your questions in the survey. We will pass it to Jenny and Andy to get answers offline. This is
sorry, I just want to. So Andy, I'm gonna have to correct you on something. So SQL macros is available in 19C. We backported it to 19C.
Okay.
Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We stuck it in because it's such a useful feature. So it's there.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Andy and Jenny, for spending valuable time and especially supporting us, especially on the Indian Oracle community. We want to see you next year in annual conference Sangam 20 when in Bangalore. We want to celebrate with you. Make sure that we'll have a real Indian festival, like a marriage festival. So, wow, a lot of great futures coming from Oracle 21C. This is really useful, right? So we are eagerly waiting for hands-on, and so if you have any closing comments, Jenny or Andy.
I mean, thank you, Andy, for answering all these questions.
Well, you check. I guess you should check all of my answers to see if I got any others wrong.
Actually, sorry, would it be possible to get the Q&A?
If you click on it. I'm trying to compile some.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get a list of the FAQs. We're trying to come up with FAQ lists. So let me just quickly check. I'm sure, Andy, you got it right. Just the SQL macros is something that we did port. So upgrade path, upgrade is direct.
Sure, I'll share those offline, Jenny, so that we can also post it in our website. So here is an keynote quiz time. So we want to test your knowledge. So there are 2 QR codes in the slide. My left side is Andy, the right side is Jenny. So go ahead and scan the QR code and answer the questions, and you get a chance to win a lot of gift vouchers. I'll keep this one for 30 seconds because the next speaker is eagerly waiting to join. So if not, we will post it in these links. We'll post it in our chat, Telegram. So with that, so we have next speaker coming. Why PLSQL is still the best data access language from Gartner, our own Gartner. So thank you very much, Jenny and Andy. This is a really great pleasure to have you in this call, and thanks for your support.
Sure, it's our pleasure.
Thank you. Hi, Connor.
Bye. With that, we are closing this session.